Yes, that is how Blood and Guts came to a close. Matt Jackson quitting on behalf of Team Elite to save Jack Perry from getting lit on fire and apparently setting up a future TNT title match. Jack Perry is that champion, won at Forbidden Door in the ladder match. Matt Camp and Tommy Jr. back with you here on Busted Open, talking all about it. We do have a very special announcement coming your way at 10 a.m. Eastern. You will not be disappointed. Stay tuned for that. But, Tommy, you said you were trending. There was a reason you were. Jack Perry was handcuffed. A lot of handcuffs last night in that match. Handcuffed to the cage. A la Raven takes a chair shot that I didn't think we would see in 2024 from Mark Briscoe. And then Jack Perry gets doused in gasoline but does not get lit on fire. And a lot of talking to end the match. That's how it went down. What did you think, first of all, of the homage to you and Raven?
Listen, there's two parts of this. I really enjoyed it. Mark, big ECW fan, him and his brother used to go to the arena. This business is all about, again, capturing moments. The other part of it is either it's a homage or it's, man, I saw this. I'll never forget when I saw Jerry Lawler pile drive Rick Rude's valet. Then I kind of made a career out of that because they were great moments that you just see people going nuts over. Then you go to chair shots in 2024. That's a thing that I don't know how I feel about it. I personally feel there's headshots with a steel chair in 2024 shouldn't happen. That would be my bottom line. If there's other ways around it, that's a thing. I mean, if like Raven at times has hit me with a chair and it felt like a fly landed on my head, never hurt. But it's also the bump. It's all that stuff when you are that prone and that, I call it execution style. There's no place you could go except take one on the dome. You know, in movies, they have breakaway chairs, all that stuff. It's a moment, but headshots, unprotected headshots with the steel chair, that's, you know, to me shouldn't happen in 2024 because of long-term effects of concussions, all that stuff. Don't know. I mean, again, if it was a steel chair, it's one thing. If it's not a steel chair, then cool. It's, you know, it could be a movie prop. I don't know.
Considering how much was done in that match, right? With blood, with staples, with barbed wire, we know that if you're on television, you know, so that's going to have to get approved. I have a hard time believing that, hey, yeah, just do an unprotected chair shot. That's fine. Like, I have to think there was more to that. I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt on that one, that, you know, however Mark did it, and we don't have to, I don't want to talk too deep about it and go into if there was any magic involved or anything like that, but I'd like to give them the benefit of the doubt that it wasn't just a straight up unprotected chair shot from something we would have seen 30 years ago.
I have seen people get hit with real bottles on television. Mm-hmm. I have seen people get hit with glass bottles on television. I have seen real barbed wire. I have seen fake barbed wire. I have seen, and I've used everything real cinder blocks and breakaway cinder blocks. The breakaway, when you deal with stuff like a breakaway cinder block, I've seen it get destroyed while the guy was swinging, and then it's like, oh, these are things that get movie magic ruined. I'll never forget one time when they broke a wooden chair over Haku's head. Still a great, in WCW, still a great moment, but it was a prop chair.
Right.
And you could totally tell it was a prop chair. Anyway, moving forward from that, I know you and I, because of before we went on the air, we're going to argue about certain stuff right now, which is cool because it is a different person's perspective, and this is what this show is about, and this is what social media is about, all that stuff. We're allowed to vent our frustrations or what I would have done or what I didn't like to do. I enjoyed the match, and more importantly, I enjoyed the finish. I have been in the exact same situations where I think you were even there. House of Hardcore. Bully Ray gonna douse a table, put me through it. He puts gasoline all over the table. He has a hard time with the lighter. Something, we turn it around on Bully Ray. There was another time where I went to light the table on fire. I held up the lighter to the fans. Bully gives me a nut shot, pins me. No fire. No nothing. And people are like, wait, what? No fire? Yes, because Bully's a heel. We took that moment away from you purposely because Bully was the bad guy. When you do have that, it's the intent. I think everybody live was, oh my God, because what we have seen, Darby Allin set Jack Perry on fire. And you know he's this crazed character. I had no problem and enjoyed the drama of Matt saying, we'll give you what you want, and then it's like, you have to say, I quit. I enjoyed that part. And I understand if some people didn't, but the evil EVP finally had to succumb to an employee and their demands. Also having to say, I quit, helped build up that drama. On the Jack Perry side with the chair shot, he's kind of sort of loopy, knocked out, bloody, has gasoline poured on him. Is he willing to die for this? Is he, when you worked in WWE, a phrase coined by, I would hear it from JR all the time, are you willing to die on this hill?
Right.
And that means, are you willing to lose your job for this specific moment? So, those are my thoughts. I did not mind, after everything that I saw, a little bit of drama. And because then here's, on the bad guy's side, Hangman Page has to be dealt with. On the good guy's side, like, hey, we won. On the evil EVPs, like, Jack Perry's going to come to them and say, hey, why did you stop the match? And it's like, bro, I did it for you. Hey, I've been on fire before, and I actually won that match. So
that's a different conversation. Honestly, I didn't like that. I hated that. I can't tell you how much I hated that when it happened.
There's a lot of different ways. I thought that would have been the end of the match as well. But hey, different strokes for different folks. I just think there's going to be a lot of drama afterwards. I had no problem the way the match ended because the intent of harm and what I'm going to do to you if you don't do this. If you think of any movie, if you think of anything, it's we have 10 seconds before this bomb's going to go off. Oh my God, all these things are happening. Like, what are you going to do? Blah, 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 blah. And then they cut the cord.
Right.
Oh, look, it's a second to go, or else I would have been blown up. Thanks, Dad. So that's my opinion on that.
All right. So as it relates to that, you mentioned, though, and I didn't think about this till you said it, you and Bully do a match, and Bully takes away the fire. He's the heel. The babyfaces didn't get to use the fire last night, and they still won. So it's they take that moment away, and Jack Perry had his legs set on fire a couple months ago, and then came back in the match. I can't tell you how much I hated that because his legs were on fire, and then he came out on TV a couple days later, and he was fine. I thought they kind of killed fire there. Now, if you're going to put it on his hair, that's a different story. You're not coming back from that one. And I get the intent there, and I get Darby being that pissed off about everything. All of that I get. There was a lot of talking after a lot of violence. I think that's why I didn't love the finish. I think the right side went over, but after everything everybody's seen, it turned into an in-ring promo. It turned into a back and forth. I thought back of Mick Foley putting Shane McMahon in a submission where he's going to break his arm so he can get into the SummerSlam 1999 main event. That's fine. That's an in-ring thing. That's during the show. This is the end of the match, and we're doing mic work, and they're doing a lot of it. And some of it was off mic, some of it was on mic. And I heard the crowd. I think they popped. I don't think they popped as big as they could have because it felt a bit anticlimactic after everything that happened. We're not going to do the fire, and we're just going to talk our way through the finish.
Yeah, I mean, I've also been in a steel cage in Philadelphia where Ravishing Rick Rude turned on me and the Sandman, and promos being cut during that, and there was more heat than ever because the heels were doing it.
Right.
When you said it best. The babyface got what he wanted. Also, even though I'm a crazed person in Darby Allin, I could sort of have compassion, and I'm going to kick your ass now at the biggest show in the world. So, or in our AEW world, and I'm going to do it. There is where I'm going to beat the living crap out of you. I would love to see these two guys go, and we haven't seen one in a long, long time, some sort of inferno match that you can do. And there's a moment where Darby does his running flip over all the fire. Again, then you have to take all these different safety precautions, all this stuff. But
and the ring's got to be like that all night long. And it's got to go overseas and all that, which is tough. I will say, sometimes this stuff happens. Darby having to walk back and forth a bunch of times, I thought slowed things down too much. I saw him go to Bryce. He was looking for something, whether it was the gas can, he couldn't find it. The amount of time that he had to do stuff, I thought kind of took away. And maybe if he was the one, or they had Matt closer to the action, because Darby's across the ring from where Jack is. So he's the one doing the promo work with the mic and all that. The threat is not actively there. You're still waiting for it to happen. If Mark or somebody else had the mic in Matt Jackson's face, maybe it would have come across a little bit quicker, a little bit more urgent. I didn't feel like the sense of urgency was as much there, and that's a nitpick. I will say this, with a finish like that, considering everything we saw with the baby faces before the match, the Acclaim wanting the Bucks, Swerve not being happy for his reason, Darby wanting Jack, the only person that got something or got what they wanted is Darby Allin. He got some revenge on Jack. He's got his TNT title match. How does Swerve take that? Is Swerve happy with the finish? Or is Anthony Bowens went off halfway up the cage and threw tables? Is that going to get the Acclaimed tag team title match at All In? I still think there's those stories that they can tell. And then the other thing I'm wondering about, Tommy, is that I've always wondered where the balance of power is. Does Tony have the ultimate power? Does Christopher Daniels have that power because he's, was assigned by Tony? Did the Bucks have more power because they were in the match, because they got to start the match when they wanted to? They beat up Daniels. They had the coin flip. It feels like there has to be some kind of punishment or some kind of balance check next week or sometime soon as it relates to the EVP's power and then Tony Khan's power.
Absolutely. I mean, with Christopher Daniels laying on the floor like that, it's implied that they were the ones who did it. If I'm Christopher Daniels and, movie magic, I'm getting ready to flip a coin and waiting for my guys. All of a sudden the lights go out and I get jumped. Can't see who did it because there's people behind me. There's a lot of places you can go. Here's the end of the day. The evil EVPs, like you said, had a coin that was, all in their favor. At the end of the day, they lost. And now it's where do we go from here? I do think we'll get the Acclaimed versus the Young Bucks at Wembley. Swerve's performance was great, but also Swerve doesn't need to be the story because at Wembley, he's with Bryan Danielson. Hangman and Swerve is another match that is just another level of getting to people where they want to go. Mark Briscoe he got into this match really because of his charisma that he's shown and his ability to be Mark Briscoe. Really got him over with, yes, I know he's a Ring of Honor champion, but added him to the main mix of top guys within that company. He should be because he's a great wrestler and he's so charismatic. And then, yes, like you said, it's going to be Darby versus Jack Perry, and that's a very, very cool match to have.
You said Inferno. They have to have some kind of stip on that, right, after last night? It's just and based on everything they've done. They had Anarchy in the arena. Jack gets, his legs lit on fire, and Darby's hanging from the top of the ring. There's the flamethrowers that's been involved. Last night we saw nearly gasoline, and it kind of feels like it would go backwards to go just straight up one-on-one.
Yeah, they need to you can go because they're having a title match, but there's going to be a lot of title matches on that show anyway. So I would put a stip on it and, make it a stip against. If I follow it up next week, I'm the evil EVPs. I gave you this match, but guess what? This is the type of match it's going to be. And then Darby's like, fine, whatever.
But isn't that the checks and balances, though? Who's got the power? Who's allowed to say that stuff? That's my. But Tony should be higher than both of them. That's my whole thing. Is that they haven't shown me the hierarchy. I don't know why they can do some stuff sometimes and sometimes they can't.
A lot of times, and I've experienced this many times. There's many, and I'm sure you have too. There's many different bosses in who you have to report to, and who and what they say do carry some weight. So that's where that gray area for me doesn't really bother me as much, because there are, to the point where I've literally said, okay, well, now who's my boss?
Right. But Tony got beat up by those guys, so why can't he overrule them? I think that's what it comes back to. He's the owner. It's his that's. I'd love that clarified a little bit, because I think it would actually make the EVPs better. I think the whole thing, other than cut the camera, that's little inside stuff. That doesn't do anything for me. I just want to know how much power they're allowed to have. To me, Tommy, I think a very easy way to say it is that they can't rule on their own matches. That's the rule. If it's got to do with them, they can't have any power over their own matches. Now Jack Perry and Darby Allin is not about the Young Bucks. Jack Perry doesn't have any power. He's not an EVP. Okada's not an EVP. Hangman's not an EVP, if he's even going to hang around with them. Just give me a little bit of logic, a little bit of clarification about how that works, because it didn't feel like they should have been able to start their own match whenever the hell they wanted. They're not the top of the company.
I do it all the time.
But you can.
But then so can they if they're
Sure.
if they're evil EVPs.
It's fair. I get it. When I see the end of that match and I try to figure out where everybody's going, I was trying to figure out where Hangman goes after this, because Swerve's already got Danielson for the world title. That's the top of the show coming up in a couple weeks. Hangman did hit a buckshot on Okada. I kind of thought that was the play, because you got to get Okada on the show and you got to get Hangman on the show. Okada doesn't really have any actual direction other than being the Continental Champion. Hangman seems to be like somebody you have to get on the show. Is that just an easy way to do it? Like, listen, as you said, he's a chaotic neutral in that way. He doesn't have any friends. He doesn't want friends. All he cares about is the world title. Is that Okada making sure that he gets his shot at Hangman, and Hangman going, just sure, I'll fight him?
When that happened, I thought that was going to go into the finish. And I was like, man, this is great. This is going to set the table. Like I said, with your crazy, chaotic friend, what's he going to do? There's something there. But that speculation, why we tune in each and every week. And could they go there? Absolutely. And, Okada could also be the one. Oh, by the way, in one of the biggest matches, you hit me. And, like he could step up to Matt and Nick and use his power. Well, I'm your friend too. Why are you taking his side? And you could go that route where Okada makes the match, and instead of Hangman being the guy who starts the trouble, Okada could.
Well, I think Okada has been too comedic at times. I would like to see a pissed off Okada go, hey, like that. He is so angry. I want him. Give me him. Make that match. He hit me. You guys said he was on our side. He wasn't. Look what he did. That's enough for me, because I think he's been a little too goofy, a little too funny for a guy who, when he's at his best, is maybe the best wrestler in the entire world. And Hangman Okada looks like a hell of a match to me on the biggest show you have all year.